Hello, you snack. Welcome back. My name's Jack, and thank you, as always, for stopping by. Today's a collection of some interesting choices people have made in their relationships, both to break promises, to try and shatter their partner's freedom and happiness, and yeah, basically a lot of that. Let's get into it. My son, 19 male, filed harassment charges against me and my husband because we were making him go to college. Me and my son moved to the US last year. I was a single mom for 16 years before I met and then married my husband. I saved up money so he can go to college. Where I came from, college is very important. We moved to a small town and my son found new friends. These friends, in my opinion, were not a good influence. I am used to polite and academically oriented kids back home. These new friends of his make fun of his books and his plans of going to college. Before his high school graduation, me and my husband took him to several universities in the state so he could get a feel for which one he would like to go to. Then, after he graduated from high school, I told him I have about $20,000 saved up for college. But he said it is not going to fit because tuition is pretty expensive nowadays. Well, I suggested he can just go to a community college 20 minutes away and live at home to save money, and he agreed, and I gave him access to the fund. It was a joint account. Long story short, he did not enroll himself at all and instead started partying a lot and used the money on expensive dates with his girlfriend. He moved out and stopped talking to me. I worked hard to save that up for more than a decade, and I am upset that he wasted it in less than a year. Me and my husband went to his place and asked that he pay me back since it is specifically for college and not fun money. So he called the police and filed harassment charges. I told the police to review the CCTV footage because the whole time I was talking to him through his ring cam, I was calm and reasonable, and my husband was just standing there behind me, not saying anything. I was outside the door talking. He never even opened the door to talk to me face to face. The police said there's nothing he can do if my son and his girlfriend felt harassed. He can file a restraining order if he wants to. Well, back home, this is unforgivable to treat your parent like this. But here in the US, I was treated almost like a criminal. My sister-in-law said it is my fault for confronting him and that the money is his to spend since I made him a joint account owner. So am I wrong? Edit. People cursing me because I said something about wanting to throw my slippers on my son's face. To be clear, I have never laid my hands or my flip-flops on him ever. But after what he did, my intrusive thoughts wants me to throw it, but of course I won't. If he called the cops on me just because I want to talk to him, what more would he do if I threw my flip-flops on his face? His relationship with me before moving to the US was fine. He knew my struggle as a single mom, and he always tried to help me around the house. I was not strict at all. He was free to go out with friends anytime. He was even thrilled to have a father figure, and my husband always tries to make him feel included in everything. So okay, mommy trusted their son, who wasn't even in his 20s yet, with $20,000. Add to that being very aware of the kind of company he keeps. I'm not gonna lie, kinda the consequences of your own actions there, mummy. And yeah, as much as you want to pity this mother for seeing their child do the complete opposites of what she thought he would do, everyone in the comments, at least 90% of these that I'm reading, are all saying everyone sucks here or you're in the wrong. And yes, it's responses like these that cause people to assume that this is a mother who seems to know the only disciplinary move of physical violence, that her chancla or slipper was shaking. If we were in our home country, it would have flown straight to his face. Seriously, the most constructive comment I can find so far is this one, pointing out that OP's actually wrong for thinking that college is so important. This isn't like the early 90s or anything anymore. A lot of the time, getting a job straight away and actual, on-the-job experience and trade schools, etc. are much more, in often cases, of viable alternatives than going to college in general. And then there's also the other argument to consider. This is technically a gift. You've gifted him the ability to afford college. Just because he decided to spend that money elsewhere doesn't mean you are entitled to get your gift that you gave him back. You can gift me a car, but if I decide to sell it for a car that might not be as good but I personally love, you don't get to take the car away from me. But now, despite what I'm saying here, I don't actually think the mother is truly some sort of villain in this story. But as we find out in the update just under 2 weeks later, it seems the son has a knack for getting everyone to pity him in a way that is going to blow up in his face in a few years' time. I still have not heard from my son, and I don't expect him to reach out. But his girlfriend's mother has called me, asking if my house is still open to him. I asked her why. It turns out he hasn't paid his share of the last month's rent, and his girlfriend had to pay it for him. I said it is not my problem, and he is not welcome anymore in my house since he is an adult. The girlfriend's mom said, "What kind of mother would not extend help to his teenage son?" She further insulted me and said now she knows why he left me. At this point, I really don't care anymore. I tried to help him get a good start in life, but he wasted it. Aside from the $20,000, he lived rent-free in the house. Free food, free phone, car, gas money, and I pay all the utility bills and his health insurance. All I asked is that he focused on his studies, finish at least an associate's degree so he can get a decent job and be fully independent from me ASAP. Now, for some who asked why college is so important to me, as an immigrant, we are held under certain standards. We have to prove to USCIS that we will not become a public charge, meaning we won't rely on any government aid. I want him to be able to be a good immigrant and become productive. I don't even know if he can become a citizen if he makes below poverty income. I was just trying to make sure he gets to live a good life. Some of you also asked if he even wanted to go to college. Well, back when we were in our home country, he begged me to please send him to college no matter what. Also, the harassment charges were closed for lack of evidence of harassment. A lot of what he said were lies. And edit as well. Another thing that gave me chills was when he moved out. It was the middle of the night, and me and my husband were both asleep. My son left the front door hanging open. I saw it in the camera. We live in a small town, but there's a lot of crime in our area. Someone could have gone in and done something bad. Oh no. What a terrifying coincidence you bring this up now. Were you possibly reminded of this instance while talking about all the things you sacrificed and did for your child? Ah, what a privilege he had to have food and a place to live and working water and electricity. Bad. Kids these days getting the bare minimum standards of survival. They should be so lucky. Okay, no, sorry. I'm roasting the mother too much in this despite me actually supporting her being the victim in this. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't be upset and frustrated with someone they cared about dearly, that they took care of, did everything they could for them, only for them to throw it all away? And then when you try to be who you've always been, that supportive, caring figure for them, they threaten the police on you. Honestly, I don't blame her wanting to throw her flip-flops at him. At this point, I think he needs it to reset his brain. Yes, come and say. Some people just have to learn the hard way. His girlfriend probably had a good time with him spending his college fund. Now that it's gone, the fun is over. So now comes the reality. But again, you still have a lot of comments that want to highlight the fact that Mother here is kind of following a panic that was only relevant maybe 10, hell, 20 years ago. Like, college degrees are worth almost dog schmidt these days, and college is more expensive than ever. It's no longer a guarantee of a good job, let alone a job at all. My wife has a master's degree. She's not even working in her field. With another reply straight under that. Yeah, I'm a college dropout and I make 6 figures in the trades. Best decision I ever made was to drop out at the time. So, you know, let that be a little nice reminder for everyone out there who might be thinking about college still or currently in college. This is one of those rare cases in life where giving up could actually be the positive thing. Hooray for sayings that don't sound motivational that technically actually are. I destroyed my ex-boyfriend's Lego sets and gave him 1 week to move out after he threw away my teddy bear. I just need to vent. I, 24 female, have been living with my 25 male, now ex-boyfriend for about 8 months now. I have a teddy bear that my grandmother gave to me when I was younger. Now, it has no monetary value, but the sentimental value is more important. When I was 8, she gave it to me while she was struggling with cancer. It was stage 4 and spread quickly, and there was nothing they could do. She gave me a teddy bear and told me to take care of it and I could talk to the teddy bear whenever I missed her. She got one of those talking mics put in it, and it would say, "I hope you're feeling loved today, because I love you more than all the stars in the sky and all the fish in the sea, and you mean the world to me." She would say that all the time when I would spend the night. He knows how much it means to me. I told him. He's seen me hugging the bear and sitting outside to talk to my grandma, and when I was sad or just needed to vent without judgment or even a response. 2 days ago, he decided that it was raggedy and not appealing to look at. I can admit the bear has been through it. I carried it around with me everywhere for 2 years. He would go in my book bag when I went to school. It went to dance class with me. He even went out of town when I had cheer meets when I got into high school. My cousin pulled out one of his eyes when I was 10, and he's missing an arm when my brother got mad at me and cut it off. It was sewn back on and then ripped off again. You get it. But he was mine. You see, I found a button that was exactly like his from some bear at a Goodwill and was going to sew it in his eye. I went to my room. Now, note, we have separate bedrooms. I can decorate my space how I want and have my workspace, and the same for him, but we always sleep together. I just never had my own room growing up and have only been living alone for 2 years, so I wanted to keep on to that for a while. Anyway, I went in there to do it, and he wasn't on my bed. I went scouring for him for hours, and he watched me. I started to cry because that was the last thing she gave me and she made special for me. He finally told me he threw it away because it was disgusting and he hated coming in my room and seeing it. I got so mad and I felt so betrayed. Now, he likes to spend time on Legos and building them. He's built the Eiffel Tower, the Harry Potter Tower, a cherry blossom tree, and dozens of others. So I went to his room and I destroyed them all. I threw the pieces around the room and out the window and in the garbage. He came in screaming at me and saying how dare I touch his things he bought with his money and he spent hours on. I told him he can get the hell out and spend hours rebuilding it someplace else because I'm done with him. He started telling me I was overreacting and whatever else. I forget a lot of the argument because I was so mad. I told him he had 1 week to get his things out and move out because he wasn't staying here while it happened. He started telling me that I couldn't do that and he paid bills. I told him I really don't give a damn and to get out or I'd call the police. So we have mutual friends and he's told them a completely different story because 2 have texted me saying, "How could you do that to him?" And I really don't care to clear it up. In the moment, I didn't feel bad, but now I kind of do because that's his hobby, but I was so hurt and betrayed by what he did. I mean, he's even called me a few times saying he'll get me another one and we can work on things and don't throw away 3 years over a mistake, but I am completely disgusted by him. So this little couple's kerfuffle started 8 days ago, and from the opinion of someone whose husband does treat their stuff right, I'd leave him. My husband folds my baby blanket and puts it under my pillow when he makes the bed. I'm a middle-aged woman with children. To be loved is to be seen. Which, okay, when you're a middle-aged woman though and still having something from your babyhood, that is goddamn admirable. That's the kind of person who, when playing video games, hold on to all their health potions until the end of the final boss because you just never know when you might need them, really. But that said, there are people who don't find sentimental value to mean much.
You typed 24 and 25, but did you mean to type 14 and 15?
I mean, come on, god damn it. This person's grandmother died. Of course it has a bit more value than just a kid who really likes their toys. But look, despite the guy's completely arrogant comments about the teddy bear, there are quite a few people who still are somewhat on his side, saying things like, okay, the boyfriend is definitely an a-hole, but if your first reaction was to go and smash all his stuff, then I'm going to take a stab and say you're both just as toxic as each other. And yeah, it seems across the board this is actually quite a common belief. Everyone's sucking here. A lot of comments deleted by the moderators because they're just so harsh in their words. So, okay, quite a lot of people thinking everyone sucks here. Some want to say the woman is a emotionally reactive child. Others want to call the boyfriend selfish and narcissistic and completely only caring about what he wants. But a day later, there's an update, and to spoil some good news, the bear is returned. I want to say thank you to all the people who told me not to give up on finding my bear, because I went out in that dumpster for 3 hours with my sister, my best friend, and even a neighbor came down to help when I told him what happened, and I found it. I am so relieved and beyond happy. Also, I love all the men calling me crazy and he dodged a bullet and I committed a crime and he should call the police or take me to court, as if he didn't go into my personal space and throw away my property because he didn't like my property in my personal space. He's lucky that all I did, and I didn't sue him for it. Seriously, men are telling me I committed a crime as if he didn't. That I'm crazy for destroying his things, but he isn't. That I'm immature for being upset that he threw the last thing I have of my grandmother out, but he can buy replicas of the same Harry Potter Lego set until the day he dies if he wants to. Oh, but I'm the worst person to ever walk this planet. It's insane. Anyway, I found it. He's air drying. I'm going to sew the button in over the weekend. My dad and brother will be here while he comes to get his stuff, and that's that. I'm free of someone who doesn't respect my space or how I feel. Oh, and I didn't come here to ask if I was an a-hole. I don't care if I was. Now that I found my bear, I really don't care and can't wait to have my apartment to myself again. Oh, one more thing. I did end up telling our mutual friends what he did. I took a picture of all of us digging through the trash to find my bear. I took a picture of the bear and the state he was in after I found him and told them, thank you for taking his side and not even trying to figure out the full situation. He threw away my property, so I took away his hobby. I also sent the texts of him begging me to take him back and admitting to what he did. How he watched me cry for hours while I looked for it, knowing he threw it out. He watched me be distressed and didn't care. Those friends have texted me saying he said I cheated on him, and when he didn't take me back, I went crazy. And that is why, my friends, you always consider both sides of your friends when they break up with each other. I don't care if you've been friends with one of them for longer. No. Listen to both sides before making judgment. Now, here's my quick rant on this, though. It's just a typical argument of what hurts more, being bludgeoned to death or being stabbed to death. Like, you're always going to get just a subjective idea of it. What's more important, sentimental or monetary value? Because I'm gonna kinda argue that, yeah, I do think it was wrong that you smashed up all his stuff. I think it's kinda hypocritical for people to support your actions when you are literally doing the thing that they are all condemning your boyfriend for doing. Like, yes, he struck first, but then you're trying to make the argument that it's okay to strike back, but this wasn't a situation where you're in danger and you needed to strike back to defend yourself, you know? And then we have the other idea too that, okay, if sentimental value is more important than monetary value, then why did OP go ahead and try to destroy all his stuff? Clearly, she also then believed that his monetary value was something that was very important. Look, I'm not saying at all that the guy was right to throw out the teddy bear. I just think a lot of these comments that are either against OP or for OP are very much clouded in their own bias. Like, if there's anything to get upset about the boyfriend for, it's absolutely, as this comment says, more than just throwing the bear out, it's his other telling actions. He saw her in distress over a prized possession, and he let her be in distress. A sane person would realize the mistake while she was crying, tell her what they did, and go straight down to that dumpster on the first day and retrieve the bear. Oh, but not him. He let her be miserable because her misery was part of his plan all along. Now, okay, that's getting a bit dramatic, but still, he was perfectly fine with her being sad because then he knew that he could hurt her. What he didn't count on was her anger and his plan to backfire. But as certainly as the sun will rise tomorrow, her misery was his goal. Now, again, this is where I think bias is coming into play. How easily we like to assume someone is a villain and a manipulative mastermind when they're usually just a stupid person making very stupid choices. Again, the guy's a grade A, see you next Tuesday for what he did. Come on, her misery was part of his plan all along. I thought all men were stupid and clueless dopes. How are we also sinister, evil masterminds, you know? Come on. Am I the a-hole for deleting my girlfriend's Sims saves files? Let's just start by saying that I, 24 male, love my girlfriend, Aaliyah, who's 20 female. I love her very much. She's a super hard-working girl, and she spends a lot of her time on classes trying to get the highest grades possible for applying to nursing school in the near future. When she's not doing that, she's doing chores or cutting down on her ever-growing to-do list. And when she's not doing that, she's spending 2 hours a day playing The Sims. This is where the problem comes in. After all the stuff she does, Aaliyah doesn't have as much time to spend with me as she could. She's a perfectionist too, so when she's doing the more serious stuff like school, she puts in more effort than necessary, which is time-consuming. It really got to me that even knowing this, she'll spend so much time on The Sims. It's something frivolous she's doing when we already only get so little time together. She's also an adult. So essentially, playing digital dolls almost every day is kind of something she ought to grow out of by now. I decided to step in and have her cut back on this. I obviously didn't delete the whole game, but I figured deleting the little save files she was working on would deter her from spending so much time on it. So yeah, that decision backfired tremendously. When she logged onto her game, she thought there was some glitch going on and kept restarting it until I explained to her that I removed the saves. She obviously flipped out on me, saying she'd been playing in that save file since like 2017, and I had ruined years of game progress. Like, Sims isn't even a gold game though? I told her she was overreacting, because she still has the game and she could just remake her same little characters if it mattered so much, but it doesn't need to. And maybe now she can focus on more adult interests, like loved ones.
Okay, no. Divine intervention into this story. Dear God, my man.
The Sims is not a goal-oriented game. That's like the only thing you really do in the game is achieve goals. It's this entire progression system. It's like saying the point of playing Capture the Flag isn't to go into the enemy side of the territory. Basically, she left immediately, saying she was so stupid to leave her gaming laptop at my place, and now she won't answer my calls. I know that this is a total overreaction, but I started to feel a little bad once I realized it may not be as easy to redo her characters as I initially thought. So, am I the a-hole for deleting my girlfriend's Sims saves? So that's age-old frustration many young men have experienced with their partners never understanding how relaxing and fun it can be to play video games than to do anything else. Interestingly, gets flipped on its head in this relationship. Like, I don't care what your hobbies are or what your gender is, this is absolutely making you the a-hole and seriously controlling red flag behavior and unacceptable. What does it matter if anyone plays a game for a couple of hours a day? People are allowed leisure time. Who are you to control what they choose for recreation time? If you want to spend more time with her, be an adult and tell her, hell, do what a lot of actually supportive partners do and try to be more involved in the things they like to do. Surely your mutual interests in your relationship have some crossover you could bond between, but no. Either way, all the comments are very supportive of the girlfriend here. And oh, what's this? Someone directly thanking these comments for their good luck wishes. Yep, see, this issue seemed to have been very fresh in their relationship because call it a coincidence and fake, either way it's still entertaining to read, but the girlfriend likes to come in for a little comment herself. Did you really think I wouldn't find this post? Did you really think I wouldn't see how you've been talking about me? I shudder to think what you said in what you deleted. Why don't you tell them the real story about how you not only deleted the save files, but also hammered the backup thumb drive so hard there's a dent on your countertop now while I cried for you to stop? Why don't you tell them about how you tag along to my SI group after bio because you don't want me to be out of your sight? Why don't you tell them about how my best friend who's so-called in love with me literally lives in another state and only visits once or twice a year? Why don't you tell them about how when my mother was sick a few months ago, you were blowing up my line all day every day for attention knowing I was her primary caregiver 24/7? Why are you telling them you work full full-time or that you manage a grocery store when you part-time manage the fast food place inside it. I want you to take this to heart when I say this, but I have genuinely been so much worse off for knowing you. You've destroyed my self-esteem with your constant criticisms of what I enjoy. You've controlled me in every other way for as long as I've known you. You don't understand boundaries or when no means no. Your racist family treats me like a dog, and your friends are equally racist punk bitch ass. Yeah, there's a lot of swearing in this. I apologize. You ruined something I've spent years of my life growing up with, and I could never bring myself to forgive and forget that, no matter how much love I've poured into you. I hate you for what you did to me and for what you've been doing. I mean that. Okay, so, well, a lot of extra context to digest. How unsurprising it is that this person has completely downplayed how drastic he was in his behavior. Now, it is impressive just how immature this guy has been about this relationship in regards to boundaries and respect and trust, you know, all the basic things you should have as a mature mind. They're only 4-year age difference though, 24 male, 20 female. It's not like there's, you know, a huge flag of grooming or anything going on here, but that's because we have yet to come across this update from Aaliyah herself, deciding to give some extra and clarifying information on the whole ordeal of what it's been like with this scum. Hi there, Aaliyah here from the famous post about my Sims 4 saves getting deleted. I just wanted to put a little placeholder update on my page for anyone who's read that post. Please note that I have turned off the ability to search my username in-app because although I did want people to hear the whole story at first, the social media response has been a bit overwhelming. I'm just a regular person and I didn't know this would get publicized to this extent, so please be kind. All that said, here's an update and some missing info. Our ages. For one, there was some confusion about when my ex and I got together. We knew each other all our lives since our families are close, but we started dating when I was 12 and he was 16. We actually have a 5-year age gap. I'm newly 20 and he turns 25 this year. Hope that clears it up. Missing info. Now, not only did he delete the saves and clear the recycling bin, he pulled out my backup drive and smashed it with a hammer once he realized I was upset that he'd done the first 2 things. He lied about not knowing it was such a detailed game because I talked to him about it tons of times before. This was not a matter of spending time together. We regularly spent hours of every day with each other. He would insist to come along to any class or class-related activity that he wouldn't get kicked out of, like bio study group. I gave him as much attention as I possibly could, but it was never, ever enough. Summer is in just 3 weeks, so we would have had time then. He was just being awful to me. He is generally jealous, overprotective, condescending of a person. He pressured me into being intimate throughout our relationship, and his friends and family were all incredibly racist to me. It's past time for him to be gone from my life, and I'm still coming to terms with all the ways he has wrecked me. Clearing up some questions. My 7-year save existed across 3 laptops over time, so those who were skeptical of it being able to survive on one for so long were right. I did have a password on my gaming laptop. He memorized it to get in. He mentioned that I was dumb for leaving my laptop at his place. I said that because he's done something similar before when I left my phone unattended. He went through it, promised never to again, only for me to find out months later that he'd been logged into my Instagram account and was reading my messages daily. Some people wondered why I have no mention of him on my page. That's because I was always on edge with him going through my phone. In my comment history 6 months ago, there are 2 replies I made under a post about him forcing me to kiss him at stoplights. I'm sorry that this is the only remnant of proof that I've been with him. I tried to cover my tracks to avoid his anger. Now to the proper update. I was too anxious to try and retrieve the lost save files myself, so I'm going to a local tech shop in a few days to see what the professionals can do, and the laptop will remain off until then. I've looked into a restraining order recently, and ultimately, it looks like I won't be able to do much as of now, but collect evidence and get cameras installed around my home. I don't go out in public alone anymore, and I am never without a trusted person. Now, it does sound like it ends on a sad note, but do not fret, there is a final, very short update, one that should make you feel very happy. That's it. Sorry for taking a while to tell everyone. I went to a local tech shop a few days ago and they helped me to recover everything. I hadn't had the chance to update due to final season. I'm typing this on my way to class, but yes, for anyone still wondering, I got everything back. So hooray to OP, and what the hell to the families on both sides? That's something being discussed the most in all these comments, how people are just flabbergasted that they would allow a 16-year-old to date a 12-year-old. Sure, they're not an adult or anything, but statistically, she hasn't even gone through puberty yet. I don't understand how anyone could seriously date a 12-year-old. Like, even 12-year-olds don't really date other 12-year-olds. End of the day, folks, this is why you should always be allowed to play video games. Because as some people say, turns out it can actually save your life.